Okay, I think we're live. Sorry, I took a second because I was just ordering a little something, some breakfast. The baby's here. Okay. Let me make sure we're up and running. Okay, we're up and running. Amazing. Amazing. Let me check the chat. Did you guys get transferred over or not? Or nah? All right, so yeah, we'll hang out for a little bit. We'll look at this. This was 17 hours ago. U.S. Coast Guard. I'm also gonna see if they have any posts on their. I don't know if they have a Facebook page or something. Check out their Facebook. If you guys could hit like again too, I'd appreciate that. And so yeah, we'll do this for a little bit, and then we'll come back at 1:30, I guess, and see what happens. Some of you did, some of you didn't. Okay. And what I was gonna say too with this guy, he was talking about that, like, don't get out of bed, don't get out of this, you got to take risks. That's true. I mean, you can't play it safe forever. Like I have my little paranoia and stuff like that with certain things. But I've learned, and I learned that because of YouTube. You have to take some sort of risk in life, or you'll never really experience anything. Some of the best things I got in life was because of taking risk. But sometimes you got to kind of weigh the pros and cons, and sometimes the cons might be even more. But I couldn't really particularly see myself getting on a ship like this. Well, definitely not spending on 250K. But if I had money to blow like that, I don't know. But you know what though? Like my sister on Father's Day, because we're all hanging out, she told me that she's been on the blimp, the Goodyear blimp. She's gone on there. And with that Goodyear blimp, it's like you have to like know somebody or something. Like they don't just let you get on there. Like you have to know somebody, like whatever. You can't just get a ticket and get on. You have to be connected, or like a customer of Goodyear, like a special, business customer type of thing. So she was showing me video and stuff, and she's been on that blimp thing. And to me, that blimp thing is kind of creepy. But I mean, she said it was cool. She had a good time. It's pretty small inside. It almost looks like an airplane. And she was showing me some video of that. So, like, I don't know. If I got on that, I'd be paranoid too, I'd probably get on it, though, I guess. Lindsay, good morning. Let's see what this guy says.
Coast Guard.
I should put some, It's not a submarine, Mail. It's a submersible.
Hey, good afternoon.
I don't know what you're talking
joining
about.
us today. My name is Chief Petty Officer Robert Simpson. I'm the Assistant Public Affairs Officer for the 1st Coast Guard District in Boston, Massachusetts. In just a minute, I'll introduce Rear Admiral John Mauger, Commander of the 1st Coast Guard
Morning.
District.
Mar, what's up?
I'm prepared to give you a brief update on the case going on 900 miles east of Cape Cod in the search for 5 submariners. We do ask, following his brief statement, we'll be able to take a few questions and answers. We do ask that we give everybody the opportunity to ask one question, and if we have it to go through, we can be able to ask further questions beyond that. We only have time today for about 10 minutes, so he has a brief statement on here, and at this time, I'd like to introduce Admiral John Mauger.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rear Admiral John Mauger. I'm the commander of the 1st Coast Guard District here in Boston, Massachusetts. And in this case, I am the lead for the Coast Guard search and rescue operations for the overdue submersible out near the wreck of the Titanic. Yesterday afternoon...
The parachuting thing, I've thought about that too, if I would do that, parachuting. Let me do a little, I want to do a little poll. Would you guys parachute? Some people say it's exhilarating, it's exciting. I've also watched the stories of people dying. Or skydiving. I mean, would you skydive? If you've already done it, say yes.
We were notified by the operator of the submersible vessel that it was overdue, and it had 5 persons on board the submersible. So we're working very closely at this point to make sure that we're doing everything that we can do to locate the submersible and rescue those on board. Our thoughts are with the crew members and the families on board, of those on board the submersible at this time. And we are doing everything that we can do to make sure that we can locate and
this is kind of true. I mean, I don't know, that somebody said the captain had the submarine set up like this. Thank you, Sarah, for the links as well. I'm going to check out all the links you guys are sending me. It did kind of look like that. Like the setup for the they had like a controller or something. The captain had a submarine set up like this.
Rescue those on board. So after receiving the call, we reached out to the vessel Polar Prince and began a surface search looking for the submersible. At the same time, we launched a C-130 aircraft to conduct an aerial search, both visual and radar, of the scene. We've subsequently coordinated with the Canadian Coast Guard and Canadian Armed Forces to deploy additional assets to the scene. The Canadians have had a C-130 aircraft searching as well, in addition to also having a P-8 submarine search aircraft deploy as well, and put sonar buoys in the water in attempt to listen. The location of the search is approximately 900 miles east of Cape Cod, in a water depth of roughly 13,000 feet. It is a remote area, and it is a challenge to conduct a search in that remote area, but we are deploying all available assets to make sure that we can locate the craft and rescue the people on board. Going into this evening, we will continue to fly aircraft and move additional vessels into the area. In this remote part of our search and rescue responsibility, oftentimes we rely on commercial operators to be the first vessels on scene. And so we've been in touch with additional commercial vessels that are operating in the area, as well as initiating the movement of additional Canadian Coast Guard assets and U.S. Coast Guard surface asset into the area over the course of the next couple of days. Adding to the complexity of this case is the fact that this was a submersible vessel, and so we need to make sure that we're looking both on the surface for the vessel if it had surfaced back to the water, but had somehow lost communications with the vessel, and that's what the aircraft and the surface search vessel is allowing us to do right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. As we were reading, and like the way that when the previous stream we were talking about it, I might show that video a little bit again if I can find it. I don't even know where it's at, but and I have quite a few other videos to show you guys, people have sent me. But those doors are bolted shut from the outside. So like even if they did were somehow able to get to the surface, if one of the the functionality, they got buoyancy, they were able to float up, they still can't get out. They'd be stuck inside because it's bolted from the outside.
Now, but we're also having to search in the water column, and we're doing that right now with the use of sonar buoys and sonar on the ship that's out there to listen for any sounds that we can detect in the water column. Over the course of the next couple of days, we anticipate adding additional capability to conduct additional search in the water as those commercial assets arrive on scene. Again, our thoughts are with the families and the crew members on board the submersible, and we're working very closely with all U.S. And international partners to provide any capability that we can provide to search for the overdue vessel and rescue the crew members on board. At this point, we'll take questions.
There were reports that the submarine may be trapped
So in terms of locating the overdue submersible, we have to make sure that we're looking on both the surface using aerial and surface vessels, but then expanding into underwater search as well. Right now, our capability is limited to sonar buoys and listening for sounds, but you know, we're working very hard to increase the capability. We understand from the operator of the vessel that the vessel was designed with a 96-hour sustainment capability if there was an emergency on board. And so we're using that time, making the best use of every moment of that time to locate the vessel.
Moon Bunny, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. It says, Mel, I've been studying the Titanic for 20 years, and I want to take this moment to say that dives to the Titanic of any nature must cease. Every visit to the wreck furthers its deterioration. What do you mean? Every visit to the wreck further? So you're saying people visiting it it's deteriorating? Oh, wait. Are you saying that it's deteriorating the Titanic, or you're just saying the sub? Every time the sub goes down there, it's deteriorating the sub. No, you're saying every visit to the wreck furthers its deterioration. How does that happen? Sorry, I'm a little congested. And Carly said, my husband and I watch a documentary on these subs, and they have security features where they would automatically float to the top with no power. They're probably gone. The only thing is, this thing is like a submersible and not an actual sub. So I wonder if if they have those features. BBC had a man say, oh my God, I'm really, I think it's because I took that Mucinex thing. I think stuff's starting to come up a little bit. BBC had a man saying it mentions death or risk of dying 3 times, a mitigation of risk disclaimer he signed before getting into it. Oh yeah, we just watched that on the previous stream. There was a guy that tried, oh no, there was a lady that tried to go 3 times and it got canceled every time. Let me see what oh, okay. Shannon says that's how a lot of submersibles work. Both from the outside, from inside could dislodge bolts into the sub. Oh, that makes sense. Into the occupants. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
At this point, I'm not in a position to confirm the identity of anybody on board the vessel.
Get your drink.
Out of respect for the families, we're going through the notification process, and more updates will be forthcoming.
Sorry, I may be jumping something here, but it seems like if that vessel would be sitting on the bottom, the 96-hour window to reach it, that this is a race to get some sort of rescue vehicle down to it. Am I correct about that?
That's absolutely part of the overall planning for this search case. Right now, we're focused on locating the vessel, but at the same time, if we find this vessel in the water, then we will have to effect some sort of rescue or coordinating, reaching out to different partners within the U.S. Navy, within the Canadian Armed Forces, and within private industry to understand what underwater rescue capability might be available.
Every time the wreckage moves, it further erodes the natural erosion process. Oh, okay. And so what? But let me ask you this: I'm not trying to sound insensitive, but like, why do people care? Is it like just because like maybe it's a gravesite, so it's like disrespectful or something? Is that why? Or I mean, it's just sitting there under the ocean, right? So people going to visit it, they're just going to see it. Like, man, I don't understand. Everything's going to erode anyway, right? Eventually, it's not going to stay in pristine condition, right? Forever. Moon Bunny said Titanic is being eaten by bacteria called rusticles. It feeds off the iron the ship is made of. It is a fragile substance. Would love to discuss. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. If you want to call in towards the end of this, I have a couple of videos to play. If you want to email me, ikidmail@gmail.com. And if you want, I can call so everybody can hear. If you want to just share some of your thoughts, send me an email, ikidmail@gmail.com. And when we're done with the videos, we can tap you in. Thank you for the super chat.
There that could do that, you could get down there.
So at this moment, we're focused on the search and understanding the capabilities of the vessels that are deploying to the scene.
And can your sonar measure as deep as 13,000 feet?
So the sonar capabilities within the sonar buoys and within the hull of the commercial vessel that is out there operating on site, those aren't Coast Guard sonars. They are capable of listening to a depth of 13,000 feet, as I understand it.
On some of the numbers here, you mentioned that there were 96 hours of oxygen. How much of the 96 hours do you believe they may be taken if they are submerged? And also, what is the sperm mileage of your search right now?
So in terms of the square mileage of the search, I don't have that number right at this moment, but it includes both a surface area that we're looking at and a subsurface area. And so we'll get you the exact number for the square mileage of the search. In terms of the hours...
And the other thing he was saying, he was talking about that, like, they were asking, like, so what if you find it in the water? What are you going to do? And he was saying, like, they'll have to coordinate and blah, blah, blah. I hope that they have whatever they need ready in case it's found underwater. They're not going to have a lot of time, so I don't know how they would pull that thing out of there. How much that thing weighs? It's probably really heavy. But I hope whatever it is they're going to need to pull it out the water, they have that already out in the ocean or on the way. Because if they find them, they might not have much time left.
We understood that that was 96 hours of rescue or emergency capability from the operator, and so we anticipate that there's somewhere between 70 to the full 96 hours available at this point.
Do you believe that the sub would be in a location near the Titanic? And if so, what are some of the challenges with sonar and a debris field that the Titanic had to face?
So it's certainly the purpose of the submarine was to, as I understand, the purpose of the submersible was to provide opportunity to visit the wreck site and explore the wreck site. So that's a possibility. Again, right now our focus is getting on it as much capability.
They're saying there's a 19-year-old on board too.
The area as we can, and understanding that full capability of those assets that are being deployed. Our aerial assets that are being deployed have the capability to do both visual and radar searches, and the Canadians' asset had the ability to drop sonar buoys and listen, and so we're using all that information to improve our search capability. So we're working through that right now, but what we're really focused on at the moment is really locating the vessel, which could either be in the surface or subsurface. And so we're bringing in technical expertise to understand both the dynamics of underwater search and underwater rescue operations.
We know the family function gets and we'll be hoping that they're not going forward on that program. How hopeful are you?
So as search and rescue professionals, we work very, very hard, and our crews take this personally. Our first thoughts are with the crew members and the families of those
you're
on
right
board.
too. Girls Line said 23,000 pounds, and they can't break it up too fast. That's true also, yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we have done absolutely everything that we can do to locate their family members and bring them home safe. And so they're first and foremost in our thoughts every moment of this search operation.
So how common are these treks to the Titanic in general, and how dangerous are they even without emergency taking place?
I don't have any details on how often folks visit the wreck site there at Titanic, nor any specific comments on the dangers involved. Certainly, every time ships go to sea, they encounter hazards and dangers, and so having properly prepared vessels, properly prepared crew members, and making sure that you practice emergency procedures, good practical advice for anybody that goes to sea.
What's happening specifically to the families of those people involved right
Moon Bunny, I got your email. Thank you. So after I'm done playing a couple of videos, I probably got a little bit to go, but I'll give you a call on Google Voice here from the computer so everybody can hear you, so we can just hear some of your thoughts.
The families, and so we'll provide that with future
If you have
updates.
time.
Any idea on the number of personnel searching? Is it dozens, hundreds?
So the Coast Guard has two C-130 aircraft. In addition to the command team that's working here, we have two C-130 aircraft deployed. The Canadians have a C-130 aircraft and a P-8 aircraft. We also have access to, and we'll launch this evening, a C-130 aircraft from the New York National Guard to make sure that we have sufficient air assets up there. On the surface, we have the commercial operator that's been on site, and we're bringing additional surface search assets into play, which will also bring in some subsurface search capability. Last question, please.
Amazing.
How many are the company employees, and how many are people who paid to be on?
I understand from the operator that there was one pilot or submersible commander operator on board, and that there were 4 mission specialists on board is the term that the operator uses for them. So five total. You have to ask the operator what that means. What we're focused on is finding those 5 people.
Yeah, because that's what that person's asking. I just wonder what happens if, like, the pilot, the main person, they have a medical emergency underwater. Is there anybody else that can man that submarine?
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming today. This does conclude this portion of the briefing. I can stay behind just to take any other questions down, and we can get back to you at a later time, and we'll be able to connect directly with you. I know you had the question about the square mileage area. Do you have a card with you? Okay. Were there any additional questions? Yeah.
I don't think there is a bathroom in there. People were saying earlier that they have some sort of Ziploc thing that they have to use the restroom in.
So I'm not sure the exact time of when it started. As far as the communications on there was the 96 hours total on there. I'm not sure if that's the amount of time total that it can stay underwater, or if that starts at another time. We can clarify and get
That's a really good question too. Let me see what they said here.
So I'm not sure the exact time of when it started. As far as the communications on there was the 96 hours total on there. I'm not sure if that's the amount of time total that it can stay underwater, or if that starts at another time. We can clarify and get back to you on that. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. When did that clock start for the 96 hours? Yeah.
Do you know if this submersible had anything that would allow it to, say, float the surface of the
Yeah, no, we don't have any information on the specifics of.
I think she was asking if there's anything on there I could barely hear it, but like have the submersible float like a security feature. But the other thing too, I was wondering, is there a limit to the? So I know that thing has a 60-something hour or 96-hour oxygen for emergency, but like, can that submersible withstand that pressure for long periods of time? Has it been put to the test? Are those things made to withhold for days underwater? Can it do it? Can it eventually give or no? I don't know how that works.
How the submersible is set up for any kind of emergency. As far as we know, we don't have any of that. We don't know that yet. We do know that the aircraft that we have on scene that are searched in the area can search a large area within that period of time over assets. So if they're on the surface, we'd be able to see them with the crews.
Sir, do you know if the mission specialists that you may have paid to be on this submersible, have they much training to prepare them in the event of something like this?
You mean for the persons on the submarine itself? I don't know. I don't know what the experience level is.
Is there any sense of what the vessel can
No, we don't have any indication, anything like that. It's only just that the communication had been lost. Not specifically like necessarily what was said on there, but it was about an hour and 45 minutes into their dive. Was the last communication, the last recorded communication that they had. I don't have specifics on if it was stopped suddenly or if it was just.
I see the update you're talking about.
A check-in
A
period.
pipe-laying vessel is at the scene where a tourist submersible went missing with 5 on board while diving. A pipe-laying vessel is at the scene. Okay, the fuck, what does that mean? Pipe-laying vessel.
Period of time, they just didn't. But, I believe that was Sunday. I think the dive started on Sunday. I believe.
But do we know why they lost communication? Do we know why yet? Why?
I believe seas right now are 3 to 6 feet with low visibility with fog. Is what 3 to 6 foot seas, yeah. For that far offshore is fairly normal. I mean, it does get much higher than that during storms.
Thank you, Mystic.
More than likely it will. I think just to keep this as kind of a central location, if we moved it down to the base, it would be much more difficult for you guys to get on. So if we do more briefings, we'd likely probably put it here. And next time we'll have more advanced notice from when we did this. We just wanted to make sure we got something out as soon as we could today.
Most likely a vessel that lays pipe for offshore oil rigging that drills ocean floor oil.
We can try and meet that, but we'll send out more updates on the site plus also Twitter to keep not only updating information, but also the next briefing, which likely won't be till tomorrow.
Okay, all right, let's take a look at some of these other videos and stuff here. Or I got pictures now. Some of the people, amazing. One of the guys on board is a British billionaire, Hamish Harding, 48, one of Pakistan's richest men, and a UK-based board member of the Prince Trust, and his son, Sulaiman, 19. Wow. 19-year-old on board. I wanted to show this video as well. Okay, we got 2 videos here we can watch. I'm curious to see.
The rush is on to find 5 people, including 3 very rich tourists trapped in a tiny submarine somewhere in, or tragically perhaps at the bottom of the North Atlantic. They could only have hours to live, as the submarine was only required to carry 4 days worth of life support, and the Coast Guard believes they are close to running out.
We want to make sure that we have done absolutely everything that we can do to locate their family members and bring them home safe. And so they're first and foremost in our thoughts every moment of this search operation.
The craft lost communications with its mothership off the coast of Newfoundland. The company's website outlines the 8-day itinerary for the trip, setting out from the city of St. John's, Canada, to the site of the Titanic wreck in the middle of the North Atlantic. A weather window had just opened up for the trip. OceanGate has several subs, but only one is capable of reaching the depth of the Titanic wreck site. OceanGate's Titan submersible is capable of diving to 13,000 feet to view the Titanic shipwreck that sits 12,500 feet at the bottom of the ocean. A full dive to the Titanic wreck, including the descent and ascent, takes around 8 hours. Standards require the sub to have 4 days worth of life support on board. They lost communications what would be yesterday morning, Sunday morning, about 2 hours.
Safety feature uses proprietary real-time hull health monitoring, RTM system, that analyzes the pressure on the vessel and integrity of the structure.
Hours into the dive, just as it would have been reaching the wreck. With us now, David Marquette, former Navy captain, commander of the USS Santa Fe. David, I appreciate you being with us. Look, you have to sort of take a step back here and realize that there's 5 people very likely if they are still alive in the most desperate and frightening situation you could possibly imagine. And they know as well as anybody is that the time's running out. So there is that. ... You think about this in the real sense. You've been deep underwater. Is there any hope for these folks?
If they're on the bottom, it's tough. The family should prepare themselves for bad news. You got to find the ship, and then you got to get it back up to the surface.
Yeah, because I guess if it would have went to the bottom, it would implode, I guess.
Two very difficult problems.
All right. And look, there's two sides to this, right? That these people signed up. Anyone would know that going to the bottom of the ocean is really dangerous. You would never want or wish what's happening upon anybody. But I also think about the U.S. Navy submarines that are now rushing to the scene. They're no longer hunting the Soviet ICBM subs. I think about the PA Poseidon, which is one of our aircraft that typically hunts Russian submarines, is now retasked to search for this. All of the Coast Guardsmen who are now hanging outside of helicopters in bad weather, looking and scouring the North Atlantic. The rescue mission here does not come without risk either.
Yeah, it doesn't. And you could argue what these people are potentially putting other people in risk by their behavior. But look, this is what we do. We have the Coast Guard. And when mariners at sea are in peril, that's one of their missions. They go out to save them.
Yeah, I think about the Coast Guard's motto, unofficial motto: you have to go out, you don't have to come back. And we are all lucky for being able to call upon them in times like this, and they will put their lives at risk. Just in terms of sort of the fascination with the Titanic, sank in 1912, 900 miles up the coast of Cape Cod, 2.5 miles below the sea surface. There was the IMAX movie about it, right? And it was sort of this remarkable thing that we all saw and have all been fascinated by. And now you have people who can pay $250,000 to be able to go down there. Is 2 miles under the ocean surface really the place for tourists?
Not in my mind. I'm not doing that. Look, yeah. There's hundreds of submarines out there, many military submarines. A U.S. nuclear submarine costs about $2 billion, and there's a good reason. If we need one pump, we put on two. If we need two pumps, we put on three. There are multiple redundancies. It's designed to the nth standard, and when things break, we have the crew to fix them. And we stay much shallower than this submarine. It's only a very tiny redundancies. It's designed. Nuclear submarine costs. I'm not
go down there. Is 2 miles under the ocean surface really the place for tourists?
Not in my mind. I'm not doing that. Look, yeah. There's hundreds of submarines out there, many military submarines. A U.S. nuclear submarine costs about $2 billion, and there's a good reason. If we need one pump, we put on two. If we need two pumps, we put on three. There are multiple redundancies. It's designed to the nth standard, and when things break, we have the crew to fix them. And we stay much shallower than this submarine.
Even the actual submarines, because this is considered a submersible, even the actual submarines, they don't even really go that deep. They kind of stay close to the surface. So this little submersible is not going to have all those safety features as many as an actual submarine. And he said if they have issues, they got people on board to fix it.
And it's only a very tiny fraction of submarines are designed to go that deep. And you're building them with a commercial company. I read that they use a video game controller to drive the submarine.
Yeah. I mean, we've been seeing it. We saw it. There was the video we watched in the last stream. I'll see if I can find that video again. They showed the inside of it and like what it looks like, and it legit looked like a gaming console, like a Xbox controller or something, to navigate this thing.
Pretty wild.
That's great, but I hope you have like 10 of those in a box standing by in case that one craps out on you. And so I'm not sure this early in this new exploration process that people understand how unforgiving nature, the laws of nature are. And nature doesn't care. We would say nature doesn't care if you went to church today. If If you make a hole in the submarine, the water's coming in.
Thanks for watching. Go to.
All right, let me watch one more video, and then we're going to call this person Moon Bunny. That's been studying, or we should call him Moon Bunny now. Let me call Moon Bunny now. I don't want to keep you waiting. Let's call Moon Bunny. She studied the Titanic for 20, I think she said 20 years. Wow. Let's see. Let's see if we got audio. We're going to call her Moon Bunny. Let me turn on the volume a little bit.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Mel.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your support. And thank you for letting me call you. You can give some insight.
No, thank you for letting me talk. I'm really passionate about this topic. And I really appreciate you giving me a platform.
Of course. So tell me, okay, you've been studying the Titanic for 20 years.
Yes, I would consider myself an amateur expert.
You've been studying for 20 years and you consider yourself amateur? Wow.
Yes, because I'm not an official scientist.
Okay.
I have just always cared deeply about the Titanic, its history, the legacy it's left behind on personal and public safety scales. It's a very important point in our history, and I'm always willing to talk to people about like the preservation of the Titanic and the lessons we can learn from the site.
All right. Can you tell me and help me understand? So you were saying that, people shouldn't go down there to visit because they can. What happens when people are doing that?
So the Titanic is being eaten basically by a bacteria called rusticles. The site, when it was visited by the first subs, by like Robert Ballard, they discovered this bacteria. So it's a new bacteria that has been placed on the Titanic. Because it's made out of iron, the rusticles feed off of the iron. So what's happening is it's a very fragile bacteria. It forms like an icicle shape and attaches itself to the ship.
Wow.
So whenever there is a disturbance in the water, the rusticles disintegrate and it takes parts of the ship with it. So what has been happening over the years, ever since the wreck was discovered in the 80s, subs come down, land on the ship, and disturb all these rusticles, which leads to the further deterioration of the ship. So the ship is deteriorating anyway. That is a fact. It's going to disappear one day and leave a rust stain on the bottom of the ocean. But by us actively visiting the site, we are causing the disintegration of the ship to basically increase in speed dramatically. There is signs of damage on the Titanic now that subs have caused and that cameras that have been used to move inside the Titanic have caused.
Even cameras being moved through the ship have an effect on it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. The ship is extremely fragile. And at first, obviously, no one knew this. So, like Robert Ballard, James Cameron, they're going to the ship in pursuit of education. They want to understand what happened that night because at first, people didn't know whether the Titanic split in two or not. Some accounts from survivors said it sank in one piece. Others saw it break in two. So until the ship was discovered, we didn't know that it had separated into two pieces. The bow is front facing, and miles away is the stern twisted backwards. The bow came down rapidly. It propelled through the water, and that is the most preserved part of the ship. That is the part that everyone is going to for tourism and for scientific discoveries. And we're just causing it to disintegrate faster. We are actively damaging and destroying what is a grave site. At this point, we have done so much research on the wreck. We have so many scans 3D scans of the wreck. We can look at it up close and in person on a computer. At this point, there is no reason to visit the Titanic anymore. So it is just my personal opinion that leading tourists down there is extremely dangerous. These people are not qualified to be down there. And you were talking about, is there someone who can pilot this submersible? There are 2 pilots out of the 5 people. So 3 tourists, 2 pilots.
2 pilots, okay.
And yes, so there would be a backup pilot. It's very tragic, but I do believe that the sub has imploded. They lost contact within 2 hours.
Right.
It takes 4 hours to get down to the Titanic, 4 hours to come back. So I don't think they made it down. It is my educated guess that it imploded, which would be preferable to suffocation. If they are still alive, they are beginning to suffocate, which is, I can't imagine how that's so tragic. It's so scary. I can't imagine how they feel or how their families feel. Implosion would be instant.
Right, that's what I was about to ask you, because I was reading there. If it imploded, it would be like instantaneous. Like
it would, yes.
It would, but even before, there wouldn't even, the water probably wouldn't even, they wouldn't even drown or anything. It would just be an implosion. They'd die before even.
No. Yes, they would be crushed instantly.
Wow.
Like they wouldn't even know it happened, which would be better than suffocating slowly, like hoping for rescue. But I hope they're found. The situation is very tragic, but I do believe that like this needs to be a sign that tourism to the Titanic is very dangerous for the living and very dangerous to the actual wreckage.
Well, I wonder what would cause this thing to implode that quickly on in. I mean,
possibly a leak. I mean, the submersible is not the most well-crafted
right.
we have established.
Right.
It is not a very professionally made submersible. It would not surprise me if there was a malfunction or a leak. It's terribly sad all the way around. And I was looking up this company that sent this submersible. They have done a handful of visits to the Titanic I think they tried their first one in 2019, and then they did multiple in 2021 and 2022. But I disagree personally with people using the Titanic as an opportunity for tourism.
Right.
Personally, because of the reasons I have stated, it is leading to it's human tampering with a grave site, and no one is there to make sure that they're a certain safe distance away, or that the submersible is even safe. There's no one able to monitor any of these things that are going on. It's just leading to very dangerous circumstances.
I think it was interesting too that the one guy, the expert that we were just watching too, that it seems like he's been on submarines and on military submarines, and he was saying he wouldn't even get on this thing and go down there because it's not a submarine, it's a submersible.
Yes. It is not a well-crafted vessel by any means. That, and as much as I would have a hard time turning away an opportunity to visit the Titanic, I would stand fast in my morality that we need to leave the site alone. But not that. It's not only that. You spend all this money to go down in a submersible that's not very safe, only to view her through a tiny porthole. And keep in mind, you were in the pitch black darkness. Wow. So you would have to get very close to the Titanic to even see any of her. As far as I'm aware, they don't have any detachable cameras that they can send to the wreckage. So it would require them to land very close, if not on her, which would lead to more deterioration, more damage. The Marconi room on the Titanic, where they would send like the SOS signal, there is damage to the roof from submersibles landing on her. Like, there is evidence of damage we have caused since her discovery in the 80s.
Wow.
And like you said, why should we care? It's because it is a grave. It is dangerous for tourism, but in my personal opinion, it is disrespectful. Not to judge these people for going. Like I said, I would have a hard time turning it down as someone who, like, deeply cares about the Titanic.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to ask you, because I almost feel like it's an obvious answer, but like, if you had been offered, would you go?
I would not, because I am knowledgeable that me going would cause destruction. These people probably don't know that. They probably just think it's a really cool opportunity and they want to go see the Titanic. They probably aren't aware of the science behind this, so we can't judge them for that. We can't judge these people for wanting to see the Titanic. Who wouldn't want to see the Titanic? It's just the logistics behind it are, it's not a good thing to do.
Right.
It's not the same as going to a graveyard, on land.
Right.
That's an act of preservation. Going to a museum, that's an act of preservation. How we can preserve the Titanic, how we can preserve these people's graves, is by leaving it alone at this point. And I would be a hypocrite if I thought scientists could continue coming and going. I also believe scientific expeditions to the Titanic should be scaled back dramatically. Any visit to the wreckage is causing deterioration. If scientists want to continue studying and going down there, we have so many scans they can look at, but they could also explore the debris field. The debris field goes for miles, and you can find debris without visiting the bow or the stern of the ship. First item from the ship that was discovered that they knew it was the Titanic, when Robert Ballard knew it was the Titanic, it was the boiler. And have you ever been to Las Vegas, the Titanik exhibition in Las Vegas? No. They have what's called the big piece. So when the Titanic broke in half, a section of the ship fell in the middle of the two pieces and fell into the debris field. The Vegas exhibition has the big piece. It is a giant section of the side of the ship. You can see 2 floors, and there's glass still in the windows. Like, it is the most incredible thing you've ever seen. They found the big piece in the debris field. They did not have to go to the bow or the stern and disturb it to acquire the big piece. And most of the artifacts you see in museums are found in the debris field. So it is very possible to visit the Titanic and preserve these articles of people's clothing, their hats, their shoes, the dishes on the Titanic, the bottles of champagne. There are bottles of champagne down in the Titanic debris field that you can find. Right. It is very possible to do that without disturbing the actual Titanic itself, which is a grave marker. There are no bodies because bodies have long been deteriorated since now. There are no bodies, but it is a symbolic grave.
Wow. So you're thinking they're probably deceased. I mean, I don't know the chances. They got until I guess they said.
It is my educated guess that they are no longer alive. That's very sad.
Yeah.
Terribly sad. Especially, you said one of them was 19?
Yeah, 19.
That is.
It's the billionaire's son, I believe, the 19-year-old.
That is very tragic. And it's even more sad because I'm sure they had to sign a bunch of waivers and like we acknowledge the risks, yada yada yada. But I don't think anyone truly knows the risks until you're in that situation.
Yeah.
Like, would they still go if they truly understood the danger?
I think people.
Like, there's not enough.
I think people do that stuff. You know, maybe it's in the back of their mind, but they're not thinking the worst is going to happen. You know, kind of like flying on a plane. 100%. But I guess this is more obviously this is more dangerous than a plane. I guess flying on a plane, people do it way more all the time. There's more.
I think that is the key difference. I also would be scared to be in a sub. Planes scare me, and
too.
That's as it is. Yeah, planes terrify me. I hate flying. But we have the rate of, like, technology is so much more advanced for aeronautics and planes and space than it is for the deep sea. Right. We know less about our own ocean than we do about space. I think more professionals need to make more leeway with submersibles before any civilians could logically think to go down there with any measure of peace of mind.
Wow. All right, Moon, thank you so much. Any other final thoughts, or was that it?
No, just that I just personally believe that it's important to acknowledge that we need a line somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, there is, dark tourism. There needs to be a...
Right. Did we lose you? Hello? Oh, there, right. You're there. Okay, yeah, just cut out for a second. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, but I guess it's like a private company, so I guess they can kind of do what they want. But I mean, this is what happens. It's kind of like unregulated, so I mean, it's definitely more risky. More in the line.
100%. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I just wanted to call in to just caution people. We need to make sure that our love for exploration, our love for knowledge does not impede with, like, nature's design. Like, let the Titanic disintegrate naturally. It is a grave. Like, we don't go to graveyards and pillage them anymore because it's morally incorrect to do so.
Right.
Like, we need a moral line somewhere, and that's really all I'm here to advocate for.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for calling. And thank you for supporting me, too.
Oh, absolutely. I've been following you since the Gabby Petito.
Oh, amazing.
Yes. I love your channel. Every time you do a trial, I'm watching. I support what you do, and I love that you advocate for victims, and I just find what you do very important.
Thank you.
It's important to be an advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Amazing. So nice. It was really nice. Let me send her. Let's see. I got some more videos we could watch. But I guess that's like humanity too, right? We destroy everything. We destroy everywhere we go, don't we? It seems like it.
It seems like this submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y jerry-riggedness. I mean, you're putting construction pipes as ballast.
Wow.
I don't know if I'd use that description of it, but there's certain things that you want to be buttoned down. So the pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
But when expedition manager Kyle Bingham studied the forecast for our Titanic dive, he concluded that the waves would be too big to launch the sub.
We're looking at 6 feet, and then it bumps up a little bit.
Our Titanic adventure would have to wait. But Stockton Rush offered our CBS crew a consolation dive to the continental shelf 80 miles away. Apparently there's a lot of sheer cliffs underwater to see, shark breeding ground. They say it's really cool. The crew closes the hatch.
That's the bolting right there from the outside, which makes sense. Somebody explain that.
They say it's really cool.
KJ, thank you for the super chat. It says caller is not only informative but beautifully empathetic. That being said, I pray she's wrong. Great coverage. I'm glued this morning. Thank you, Mel. Thank you.
The crew closes the hatch from the outside with 17 bolts. There's
like that
no
thumbnail.
other way out. Here's how the launch is supposed to go. The sub is attached to a huge floating platform. Motorboats drag it down the big orange ramp into the sea.
We're in the water, we're floating. Woo! They are going to come and prepare the platform for the next phase, which is the sinking.
The platform submerges to around 30 feet, where the water is much calmer than on the surface.
You're in the water, people.
Divers detach the sub from the platform, and away you go, in theory.
Hull integrity, holding.
And what happened next? You won't be disappointed, as we'll show you a little later on Sunday morning.
So this lady we were watching earlier too, she went 3 times and they denied her. I guess it was because of the weather or something. So she starts like crying that she couldn't go into the water. She was very emotional about it.
We have clients expedition.
I don't do show science. So our job is to do real and important and valid work.
While you're down there, will you look for this giant heart-shaped diamond on a chain?
I think that's not there.
Yeah. So we watched that already. Let me pull up another new video. And they have updates on this BBC site. Let me see if no updates yet. The Deep Energy, a Bahamas flagship which specializes in laying pipe and cables at depths of up to 3,000 meters, is helping with the search effort for the missing submersible. The owners, Technip FMC, which operates from the UK and the US, told the BBC that it arrived at the Titanic wreck site this morning to aid in the underwater search and rescue efforts for OceanGate submersible Titan. The effort is being led by the United States Coast Guard with support from the Canadian Coast Guard. The Deep Energy carries 2 remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, which can dive 3,000 meters. Oh, that's good. That's nice that they're helping. They're unmanned submersibles operated from a control room on the mothership and are tethered to 1,000 meter cables. That would have been another feature, maybe to have that submersible tethered. But I don't know, it goes really deep though. I don't know if they could. The wreckage of the Titanic lies 3,800 meters, 12,500 feet. So while that would be too deep for the submersibles, they may be able to help locate the sub. So even these submersibles that are unmanned on this ship don't go that deep. Oh, shit. Damn, check this out. Check this out. This is a really good article or information on here. It says here, what certification does the submersible have? I understand that this submersible is virtually homemade and has no certification from any scientific, technical, regulatory body whatsoever. Tim Staffel asks, is this true? Most major marine operators require chartered vessels are classified by the independent groups such as American Bureau of Shipping. Titan, the submersible involved in this case, is not classed according to the OceanGate themselves. In a blog post from 2019, the firm claimed that is the innovation behind their vessel, which makes it difficult for an external body to certify. While classing agencies are willing to pursue the certification of new and innovative designs and ideas, they often have a multi-year approval cycle. Bringing an outside entity up to speed on every innovation before it's put into the real-world testing is an anathema to rapid innovation. So they don't have the certification or whatever. They also claim SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic all rely on experienced inside experts to oversee the daily operations, testing, and validation versus bringing in outsiders who need to first be educated before being qualified to validate any innovations. BBC's U.S. partner CBS sent one of its reporters on a voyage with the same company last year to see the wreck of the Titanic. In his report, David, this is the one we're talking about, reads from what appears to be a waiver, describes the submersible as an experimental vessel. Damn. That has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Wow. Let me see. I had some other stuff I want to pull up. I don't know if this video here, they just posted this like an hour ago. I don't know if, okay, here we go. Let's check this out. Damn. If you guys could hit the like button too, I'd appreciate that. Helps out with the algorithm and stuff. Ikemel, this is what I was on about. Yes, thank you. Oh, wait, it's made from bits you get on Amazon. Oh no, and control with an Xbox controller. No. You would think that for $250K the tech would be a bit more than that. Yeah. That picture that I stopped at, that's literally the controller for the submersible. It's like a gaming controller.
To find a missing sub carrying 5 people in the North Atlantic. This is very serious stuff. The Titan was reported overdue on Sunday after diving toward the site of the Titanic shipwreck, it's pronounced. CBS News' David Pogue went on board the Titan last year for a story about the sub and the company that owns it. The name of the company is OceanGate Expeditions. Here's a clip from David's story.
Titan is the only 5-person sub in the world that can reach Titanic depths, 2.4 miles below the sea. And yet, I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
Wow, bro, literally. That's crazy.
Noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
Whoa. The ballast bag, HP tank, dive, vacuum or HPA fill, vacuum dive.
So the pressure vessel is not MacGyvered at all because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
Well, in a statement, OceanGate says this: they're exploring and mobilizing all options to bring the crew back safely. It went on to say that it's, quote, thankful for the extensive assistance that we've received from several government agencies and deep sea companies in the search. David Pogue joins us now. David, I mean, this is just terrifying and so scary. We're all thinking about the people on board. When you heard that they were missing and there was no contact, what were your first thoughts as someone who's been there?
I mean, this entire industry, this adventure travel industry is dangerous. Going up in the rockets, visiting the volcanoes, everybody knows the risks involved. And I can tell you that these submersibles are one-offs. It's not like iPhones, there are thousands of them that they can perfect. There's one of it. And so there are certain improvised, you know, he got the lights from Camper World. He drives the thing with an Xbox joystick game controller. So, but this is all standard in the field, and you know that it's a risk. So,
but when they first lost contact, why wasn't there effort to made to get to them immediately? How long was this trip supposed to last? Number one.
Usually it's 10 to 12 hours. It's 2.5 hours down, a few hours at the Titanic, and then a couple hours back up. Why didn't they send the alarm sooner? I can only guess it's because things go wrong all the time in this business. The time I was there, my dive to the Titanic only lasted 37 feet down, and then it had a mechanical problem and had to be hoisted back onto the ship. That's very standard. So they probably thought, well, the comms will come back.
David, to expand on Gil's question, are there any outside bodies outside of OceanGate that they paid to keep eyes on the sub just in case something like this happens?
No, it's in international waters. So this sub, as you sign on the waiver,
$250K. I mean, these people got a lot of money, so for them, it's kind of like they can do that, I guess. But yeah, I'd rather put it in a house or something for sure. It's too sad. It's sad too that the billionaire's on there. He took his son, I guess his 19-year-old son, maybe as a, I don't know, like a once in a lifetime type of thing, trip or whatever. But
You say, I understand that this sub has not been inspected or certified by any third-party body.
Whoa.
And
But if you're paying that much money, wouldn't you want to have a backup plan to the backup plan to ensure your safety?
I mean, I should tell you that there are many safety features of this sub and of the procedures. It's run like a rocket launch. There are these long checklists, and there are twice daily briefings that everybody has to attend. There are 7 different ways to come back to the surface.
Then why haven't they? That's the real question. Why have we not seen this thing come back
That's a good question.
into the sunlight?
So they said there's 7 different ways to come up. So maybe that makes it more plausible, the implosion theory, imploding. Oh, there's a thread too that I was tagged, and I got to read for you guys.
That is the question that makes my blood run cold. Of those 7 different ballast systems, several of them work even if there's no electricity. One of them even works if everybody's passed out. It's a time-release sandbag that after 14 hours drops off by itself. So this thing should be bobbing on the surface. If it isn't, it could only mean 2 things. Either they got snagged on something on the bottom of the sea, which is pretty unlikely. There's nothing there but the Titanic. Or there was a breach in the hull and it instantly imploded.
Wow. Holy shit. I'm kind of leading towards implosion. I mean, I hope they're alive and stuff, but it's possible they could be on the surface and they're just not found yet. But hearing this, I didn't even know this. They have a system that even if everybody is somehow incapacitated and passed out, after 14 hours, this thing is still going to rise to the surface.
Wow.
What do you think has happened when you look at the 2? None of those are good. What do you
None of those are good. The fact that they lost the signal 2/3 of the way down to the floor, that's really bad. That means something probably catastrophic happened.
So they didn't even make it to because their thing was they were supposed to go to the Titanic. I forgot how long Moon Bunny says it takes. I think she said 4 hours, 3 hours. They lost contact with the ship like an hour and something in. So they didn't even get to their destination, and they lost complete contact. But I mean, the only thing I would think if it imploded, would there be debris that they would be able to see to float up, or no? Like, I wonder how, like, the force and like what kind of damage, and will the submarine parts all sink? Would there be some parts that would float up? I don't know.
Into the whole thing. The fact that they lost the signal 2/3 of the way down to the floor, that's really bad. That means something probably catastrophic happened to the whole thing.
The pressure is intense, but of all the things that you say were picked up at Camper World or Xbox, the hull itself was supposed to be Boeing and NASA and impenetrable.
The hull itself it was co-designed with the University of Washington and NASA. It's 5-inch thick carbon fiber, never been done before. Everybody told Stockton Rush, the CEO and designer of the sub, that he was crazy because that doesn't work that way. But in theory, the deeper you go as the pressure builds, the tighter the water is pushing in on those silver end caps and making it more and more waterproof. So that's why I didn't worry about implosion.
But what can you tell us about this company and the people that run it? Do you think they're being transparent here?
Stockton Rush is a really interesting guy. He's built and designed airplanes. He's built and designed previous submersibles. He's a direct descendant of 2 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
He is, I won't say cavalier, but he did say safety is relative. If you want to live in perfect safety, don't get out of bed.
Wow.
He did say that.
But they've had successful dives doing this, right?
They have. They've been operating
More
for
than
3
once,
summers, and they've been down about 25 times.
Let's end on hope. You have some. What is it and why?
The hope is quickly fading, I'm afraid, because in theory, they have 4 days worth of oxygen. It's never been tested. Nobody's ever measured it. And we're now 2 days into that. So it's half of that is gone. If they're at the bottom of the sea...
What do you mean no one has ever been down for 4 days?
Correct. No one's ever put 5 people in there and said, start the clock, let's see how long the
air
air
is supposed to have 4 days worth of oxygen, but
we
nobody's...
don't know.
That's what I was wondering, if that sub has ever been tested for prolonged periods of time underwater.
That's a calculation. So either they're underwater, which is devastating because even if we find them, there's no way to rescue them. The deepest submarine rescue ever performed was 1,500 feet. That's like this. This is 13,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
There's no other.
Bro, when he puts it like that in context like that.
Either they're right. That's a calculation. So either they're underwater, which is devastating because even if we find them, there's no way to rescue them. The deepest submarine rescue ever performed was 1,500 feet. That's like this. This is 13,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
There's no other craft that can get down there in time.
But everybody has an idea.
Shit. Wow.
About where they are. Why can't they just send something down to look in that area, even if there's an explosion, as you think could have happened?
Because there's only 3 or 4 machines that can go to that depth in the world.
In the world.
And they're not, they take weeks to prepare, and they're not on site. And
Ooh.
suppose we had one, what would we do? Try to tow this thing up? I mean, the difference between a submarine, which is a torpedo-shaped thing that drives out of port on its own, and this thing, a submersible, is that this has to be carried everywhere. It has very little power. You can see in the picture, it's just these little plastic fans, basically.
No.
So we're supposed to drop down and then just pop back up?
That's right. They release the ballast, they release the weight, and it just rises to the surface on its own.
The other thought, I think that's part of the hope, is if it's on the surface now and it's located, it cannot be opened from the inside. So it has to be found in time. They will run out of oxygen, even if
then
they're on
open
the
from the
surface.
outside.
Yeah,
That's right. We were bolted in from the outside. There's 17 bolts on the outside. So the running out of air problem still affects us, even if they're at the surface right now. We need to find them.
Well, we heard someone say you need a miracle, and miracles.
Let's hope for one.
Yeah,
And we'll have a follow-up on CBS Sunday Morning this Sunday.
All right. Thank you, David.
Wow. So that's the guy that was actually on that sub. This video just came out like an hour ago. I guess they interviewed him. This is the guy that we just saw on the video, the older video where he was down. That's got to be eerie, knowing that you were on that sub, and now later on, it's gone, missing. Let's see if we got any more recent updates. It's a cylinder with a joystick. Utterly crazy. Oh, let me see something else. There was another video I wanted to look at. Expert. Did we look at this already? I think we did look at this.
In the middle of the dive.
Yeah, and then you got. Yeah. Let's take a look at this one.
There's a massive search underway in the Atlantic, never returned, and now the U.S. and Canadian Coast Guards from its launch ship Sunday morning. The company that owns the sub, OceanGate, says life support capabilities can last up to 96 hours for 5 people. The search is focused in an area about 400 miles off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada.
In this remote part of our search and rescue responsibility, oftentimes we rely on commercial operators to be the first vessels on scene. And so we've been in touch with
of the Atlantic. So joining me now here is Lee Cox. He's an underwater archaeologist and president of Dolan Research Maritime Archaeological Firm. Lee, thanks for being here. This is such a unique problem. We want to call it, not going to call it a tragedy just yet, but as an underwater archaeologist, you know exactly what these crews and the Coast Guard are all up against. What goes through your mind when you heard this news for the first time?
Well, it's a little bit unsettling. They're against a time clock.
Yeah.
Where they have several issues they need to determine. They have to find the sub first. They have to determine whether or not there's a mechanical issue behind it, whether or not there is communication issue behind it. And once those things are solved, they really don't have any way forward at this
Yeah.
point.
We're talking about 900 miles off the coast of Cape Cod, 13,000 feet down.
Right.
How bleak is that search, let alone recovery?
Well, one of the concerns is the sea state conditions you have, or a remote location to get assets from the Navy or wherever else is going to be involved.
Hoax. No. That looks like the exact controller. No, that can't be the same controller. Hold up. I think it is. On Amazon for $30? No. Let me compare this shit to the... Okay. It is! Okay, so this is the screenshot I took from the image where they were inside the sub. And look at what Hoax sent me. Wow. Wow. No. Bro, I can't with this shit. How long you been trying to tell me that? Hoax? Probably like 30 minutes. Wow. I'm blown away. I got to tweet this shit out. Yo. This is why I have the best people watching. Wow. Wow. Bro, this is wild, dude. What the fuck is going on? Yo, hold on. This is like, I just can't believe this shit. What? Dude. Right? Rhiannon said my Xbox controller was $60. I was gonna joke around earlier and say, because I thought this was an Xbox controller when I saw it, when I glanced. I was gonna say those Xbox controllers are gangsters. One of my favorite controllers is the Xbox. I think it was way better than the PlayStation, though. I haven't played Xbox in a long time, so like PlayStation probably has come up. But I've always liked the Xbox controller for like first person shooters or like whatever kind of game. Bruh. Damn, Hoax, you're good, man. What the hell? It's wireless. Is it? That's a good question. Is it? It looks kind of wireless. Let me see. Hoax, is that wireless? Can you send me the link to that? Or I could just type it in actually, right? Let me see. I'm going to get to the other stuff that people are sending me. Damn, we might get caught up in this shit for today. Today was a good day for this trial thing to take a break. Let me see if I can look up that listing. Because the thing is, I don't like wireless devices. Personally, I don't like it. I don't like wireless stuff because I feel it's unreliable. I don't like wireless shit. Even these headphones, these are made for wireless. I mean, they, you know, of course you have the wired option, but like, I think you get a better experience while wireless. But when I use this wireless on the computer, you don't know how many times, I don't know, for some reason, the signal kind of cuts in, cuts out. Sometimes it just turns off. Sometimes it disconnects randomly. Sometimes it cuts in and out. Like, it's just, I don't like wireless when you need stability and longevity. You go wired. That's always been my preference, is wired. Oh, I'm shocked. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mo. So Mo found the controller. There's a review. Check out the review. Oh shit. Nicely made controller, but you have to always you always have to have it pointing toward the receiver. If you even begin to dip your hand slightly, it will error out. And now the Mega Man won't stop walking into spikes. I switched to better batteries, thinking this would help. Nope, it doesn't. So sad. Logitech used to be one of the best on PC. I don't even think Logitech is good for controllers or headsets or anything. Version's controller is nearly 100. Okay. So the regular one is $100. Somebody on Twitter. I guess that makes it a little bit better. I guess. So, all right. So good. Thank you though for sharing that. So Hulk said the renewed one. Honestly, with these people though, I wouldn't be surprised if they used the renewed version. I wouldn't be surprised if they used the refurbished one, to be honest with you. To save a couple bucks, I think they did use the refurb one. Yeah. The way these people put that shit together, the rinky-dink shit, they used the refurb one, in my opinion, allegedly. Just, you know. Let me put this, where's the review? Let me tell that person thanks, though. Where's the... Damn it. Too much going on here. Too much. Send a damn tweet. Okay. Let's see. The way things are looking with this homemade sub. All right, so I guess let's move on. I'm just still like, wow.
It might have the capability to recover that sub, the sub, whether or not it's fouled within the wreck of the Titanic itself, or if it's lost. I mean, I think one of the previous expeditions they had last summer, the vessel got lost for a couple hours. But having no communication from the site since yesterday is disconcerting.
How do you communicate though? Because I mean, they're in the middle of nowhere here. There's not like there's a cell tower. How do you communicate with a vessel that's at the bottom of the Atlantic?
Well, typically these submersibles are outfitted with acoustic devices that are called pingers, and these pingers emit a signal that would be detected by the rescuers on the surface, and they have deployed buoys along the, around the wreck site itself to be able to detect these pingers. And unfortunately, there's been no signal detected within the last, as far as I know, since the last 24 hours.
your confidence level that these people will be rescued and saved?
I really hope for the best outcome. I'm just concerned that we've heard nothing from the site itself. And this is only a 21-foot vessel, and it's down 14,000 feet deep potentially. And the amount of pressure that's on the hull of that vessel, and it's a relatively new type of vessel. So, I mean, I'm really hoping for the best.
So again, and I also heard that this vessel, it's supposed to float once there's trouble, right?
So they're outfitted with ballast tanks, and the ballast tanks can be pumped full of water. That's how they descend. And they use pumps to expel the water to rise them up, to rise the submersible back to the surface. They only have small propellers that, basically they can't travel very far forward or aft. But with these ballast tanks, that's generally what brings them back to the surface. Now, if it's fouled on something and it can't come up.
I mean, that can't be good. They can't really, it's like the other guy was saying that was on the actual sub. He said it's literally like these little plastic fans that are like the propellers. So it's not really made to travel far, go long distances. So, I mean, I couldn't imagine that this thing got that far out into the ocean. I mean, not depth wise, but like traveling wise, horizontally. I wouldn't think that they went that far because it's not made to really go far or travel or propel or anything like that. I mean, I'm thinking it's either at the bottom or it imploded, and I'm honestly leaning towards implosion. I don't know.
That could be one issue too.
All right, Lee, we have to go. I could talk about this all night, but I appreciate your expertise on this. Lee Cox, thanks for being here.
All right, let me look at some of the things you guys been sending me. It has so many bad reviews, this controller. So I wonder, is it the wireless one? Let's see. Or maybe it has the option of wired in. This is a wireless controller. Well, this one has 4.5 stars though. I mean, there's bad reviews like everything else, or it has 4 stars. It's 4-star rated. Old, reliable. It does have a lot of good reviews. I can't believe. Well, yeah, it does have good reviews. I mean, I'm not saying that the controller is the issue that caused this thing to whatever, because whether they could control it or not, go back and forth, they still should have floated up to the top. It's just an interesting look, to see, like, when they say homemade, it's legitimately a homemade submersible. Like I mean, the most innovative technology was probably that tube that they went to, NASA and some other entity. Controversy has been shrouded the journey as maritime experts and others question why the submersible was built using parts from an RV supplier Camping World and is controlled with a 2011 gamepad controller. Thank you, Maggie on Twitter. 2011. I mean, I don't know. Oof. Lord. Oh, okay. So Kevin says apparently the U.S. Navy uses Xbox controllers to move submarines. Is that true? That's a W for Xbox. Let's see. Navy. So maybe it's not that crazy. Navy uses Xbox controllers. That's weird that the first searches come up without me it says Navy uses drag queen, Navy uses transgender, Navy uses dolphins, Navy uses drag influencer. I'm just, the one at the bottom is Xbox controllers. Damn, bro. What are people searching? Watch, hold on. Navy uses. Wow. Amazing. Oh, you can't see it? Oh, here. All the way at the bottom. Alrighty. Lieutenant Anthony Mattis uses Xbox controller to maneuver. Oh, the Colorado's photonic mass when the U.S. Navy Commissioner Submarine. A true marvel of technology and innovation. You might expect this would include a popular gaming device. Why don't they use PlayStation? I've always felt the Xbox controller superior. It feels really good in the hands too. Oh, but this is old though. This was in 2017. I wonder if they're still doing that. Xbox 360 controllers. I wonder if they've upgraded to the new controllers. Well, the thing is too, do they have backups? I'm sure the U.S. Navy has backups, right? Like did this submersible have backup controllers in case the one went out? Damn. So they used RV Supplier, Camping World. Let me retweet this. All right, let me see what else, because I know you guys sent me stuff. Okay, Diggs, Daily Mail, TikTok. Let's see.
The Titanic sub that charges tourists $250,000 to view the famous shipwreck is still missing. Here's the list of people in the submarine. British billionaire Hamish Harding was on board as a mission specialist. He wrote that due to bad weather, the expedition was likely to be the first and only manned mission to the Titanic in 2023. Last year, Harding traveled to space with Jeff Bezos' company, Blue Origin. Stockton Rush is on board as the founder of OceanGate, who provide the luxury submarine tours. He became the youngest jet transport rated pilot in the world at the age of 19. With him is Paul Henry Nargeolet, a former commander who served in the French Navy for 25 years. Mr. Nargeolet has led several expeditions to the Titanic site. Finally, one of Pakistan's richest men, Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son Sulaiman are also on board. Desperate search in the Atlantic is underway as their
music is a bit extreme, but okay, so those are the people on board. BBC News, TikTok.
It's got one button, and that's it. Yeah, so we run the sub with this game controller. It's made by Logitech, but it's basically a Sony PlayStation style controller.
So get the Sony PlayStation one then.
If you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you press back. If you want to turn to the left, it's like that. You want to turn to the right, you turn to the right.
Oh, there it is.
It's made by Logitech, but it's...
So I guess the control thing is not really that crazy, I guess, if the Navy is using the Xbox 360 controllers. I mean, that was in 2017. I don't know if they still do that. I personally wouldn't go with Logitech, though. You're telling me they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars and they have to trust a Walmart PlayStation controller with their life? Wow. Yo. I mean, shit. This has me spiraling. Like, I truly cannot comprehend using a game controller to be in the dark depths of the ocean like that. As soon as he said it's run by a game controller, no way I would have gone that depth for any amount of money. I was imagining a crazy high tech inside, and I saw this. So I guess all they do is press the green button and it's go. And then I guess you just use the little controller. What's it? One button. Paying $250,000 to sit across applesauce on a mat using a PlayStation controller and to see the wreck on a screen/TV. That's insane. This is fucked. This man is a billionaire charging $250,000 to go on this ride. He made a sub out of a giant PVC pipe, which we know it's not PVC, but a giant PVC pipe and a PlayStation controller. Damn, bro. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if they had backup controllers, but yeah, I don't think this thing has to do with the controller, but I wonder if they had any. Whew, jeez, bro. This is crazy. All right, let's see if there's any new things on here now. We'll hang out for a little bit more and then member of the 22. Oh, okay, somebody that was on this, another person that's been on the sub. I still got to look at your guys' links as well.
The search for a missing submarine that was headed to the site of the Titanic wreck at the bottom of the Atlantic. Joining us now for more is Colin Taylor. He was part of the
folks over here playing Diablo.
2022 OceanGate Titanic expedition to the bottom of the Atlantic on the same submarine. Colin,
is the new Diablo good? I used to play. I played 1, 2. I think I played 3. Also, I'm not sure.
So much for taking the time to speak with us today. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that expedition is like, what your experience was?
Yeah, I went on the expedition with my son last summer, last July. It's a remarkable adventure, really. And these are fantastic people. It's a terrific group of engineers and technicians, adventurers and explorers, and they really put together a terrific program to get down to the Titanic. It's truly a fantastic dive. And it's you're really pushing to the limits of what people are capable of doing. It's about 2.5 miles down, almost 4 kilometers. It takes about 2.5 hours to get to it. We spent 4 or 5 hours at the wreck itself. And then about 2.5 hours to get back up. And there's procedures before and after that are part of the dive as well. But really just a remarkable trip. And I'm when the news sort of came out this morning, I was candidly shocked to hear, and obviously very concerned for the people involved.
Right, and Colin, talk to us a little bit about that shock, because when it comes to going on a mission like this, what are the risks involved, and what kind of training do you receive?
It's obviously not without risk. As I said, you're really pushing, to the very limits of human capabilities, what can be done. The pressures and that one experiences down there are truly, at the edge of what humans and human technology is capable of managing. So there are risks. Now, that said, you are with some of the best people in the world, best engineers, technicians, and they are incredibly safety conscious. They're very, very careful about managing risks. They are very risk averse. And so our experience on it, my son and I, and we'd done quite a bit of due diligence, prior to all of this. A friend of mine is an engineer on a nuclear sub and knew these people well and spoke very highly of them. And our own experience while we were on board for the week was incredible. And they really, the focus on safety, on managing the risks is, first and foremost in everything they do. So again, hearing about what happened today was just a terrible, terrible shock.
I can imagine, Colin, this being something that you've experienced yourself in terms of the actual expedition. So what kind of preparations did you go through with the crew?
There is obviously training. You spend a week in training. You get very involved in the mission itself. So both my son and I were involved, my son in particular, in assisting the engineers and technicians in checks on the sub, which occur all through the day, literally 24/7. They are monitoring and checking that sub to make sure it's ready to go. There are detailed checklists and risk assessments that they go through on a daily basis. So in addition to all the training, again, they are very, very careful about managing risk here.
And talk to us also about the fact that the Coast Guard says that the surface ship lost communication with the Titan about a day ago. So was there any training on that front, or were you told what to do in the event that communication
Yeah, there's a
between
set of
the ship is
procedures,
lost?
but remember, absolutely, and there's a set of procedures that they will follow.
Well, as far as the controller talk, well, okay, but they lost contact halfway down. They didn't even get to the Titanic. So, because I was like, what if, I see you guys talking about, what if the controller glitched or something or whatever, and it just started directing it in a certain way that it shouldn't have directed it, you know? But they still shouldn't have been in contact. It should have been in contact, I would think. And I wonder if the mother boat is telling us everything, or is there some details they're not saying? Like, what was the communication like right before they disappeared? What were they saying? Was there anything going on? What were the checks with the ship? You know, anything.
In that case, but remember that as the sub descends, and again, you're going down, you know, almost 4 kilometers, as you get, you know, it's really at several hundred feet, you begin to lose all ability to, you know, there's no light, obviously, but you lose ability to communicate as well. So there's no GPS down there. Communication is almost a sonar-like device, and so you're restricted to text messaging, and the text messaging is incredibly slow. So you're using a shorthand version of words to communicate with the ship on the surface.
Oh, well, that's it. So there's no actual voice communication.
Sonar-like device, and so you're restricted to text messaging, and the text messaging is incredibly slow. So you're using a shorthand version of words to communicate with the ship on the surface. Wow. And the ship on the surface is trying to locate you, triangulating various signals that it's getting to try and figure out where you are, but it's very, very difficult to do that at the depths that you're at. So the fact that communications are difficult is not a surprise here. The fact that they lost all communications on the way down, you know, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign.
Colin, and given that you've been down there 12,500 feet below the ocean's surface, what are the conditions like once you get down there? Temperatures. I'm wondering how the people, if they are still on board this craft, how they're doing, whether or not they're cold, whether or not they're losing body heat.
They will get cold. Yeah, they will get cold. It does get cold inside the vessel. The vessel itself is basically a carbon fiber tube, a very thick piece of carbon fiber tube that you're in, and at each end of it is a titanium dome. One of those titanium domes has a porthole in it that allows you to see outside. And when you get down there, obviously, because there's no light at that depth, you're reliant on the lights on board. So you turn the lights on the ship, and you can see around you. There are bioluminescent creatures all the way down, so you feel somewhat like you're on a totally different planet as you descend. And that in itself is quite remarkable as well. But the ship itself will get cold. The ambient temperature there is below freezing, and so it does get cold inside that vessel, particularly on the titanium surfaces. In respect to the air, my recollection from our dive last summer was that it has 96 hours of air, and my understanding is the expedition began early yesterday morning, so they would have probably 3 days remaining of air. The ship is maintained at 1 atmosphere, so the actual pressure of the ocean you don't feel inside the vessel. You feel it, I guess, sort of intuitively or psychologically, I suppose, but the pressure inside the submersible is kept at 1 atmosphere. The oxygen is recirculated through a scrubber system, and as I said, you have about 96 hours. So given that they've been down there for at least a day so far, there's probably about 3 days of oxygen, plus or minus, left in that submersible.
Colin, given what we were talking about, the fact that a submarine has now gone missing, there's huge concern over the 5 members on board, 5 people on board. Has it made you rethink whether or not this is something that you would want to do again?
These are, again, I think we all have our own sort of risk tolerances. These kind of expeditions and adventures are not without risk. We thought about it long and hard before we went. and before, we got in the vessel the day of the dive, my son and I had a heart-to-heart. Now he's, 22, so his ability to judge risk, I think you could question. But he's a very thoughtful young man. But we had a heart-to-heart, and I said to him, look, if you are uncomfortable in any way, now's the time to pull the chute. He wanted to go ahead. I was prepared to do it, and we did it. But, would I do it again? I don't know. I probably would. I mean, I think just knowing these people, the way they operate, the way they approach risk, the engineering and design that's gone into that submersible.
Just say no.
In the absence of knowing what happened yesterday, I would certainly have done it again. But, let's wait to find out what indeed did happen yesterday before, drawing any conclusions, I suppose.
Certainly. Okay, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, I know he wants to be positive, and like he knows those people, Let me get these tweets that people have been telling me about. Somebody on Discord shared this with me. And I have another tweet that somebody in the chat told me to read. So let me start with this one. This person is an 11-year USN sub veteran. Okay, passionate about God and country, Democrat. Use voice, not violence. Okay, so this guy's a 11-year USN submarine vet. Imagine being trapped in something the size of a minivan. Imagine it is pitch black and the air is thick because you and 4 others have been breathing the same air for hours. You're trapped under 15,000 feet of water. It's cold because there's no power, condensation everywhere. Oof. You can get up and move around because of the cramped space, and even if you could, it would just use more oxygen, which you have a limited supply of on hand. No contact with the outside. Every now and again, you hear the creaking of the hull caused by the tremendous pressure. You feel the terror rising as you realize that this is probably it. Limited air, limited space, limited water, limited food, and absolutely zero chance of escape. Your fate depends on the outside world, and it is obvious they don't know where you are. Somewhere, miles and miles away, a submarine on patrol picks up the faint hammering on the sonar, but it doesn't correspond to any contact near them. It's the ocean playing tricks. Water density differences make sounds underwater to strange things. The submarine pilot reassures you. The submarine pilot reassures you that everything is going to be okay and just to sit tight, but by the look on their face whenever light is available, lets you know they're just as frightened. The mood has shifted from optimism long ago. Everyone is anxious. Every so often, the pilot taps on the hull with a hammer. He's sending out Morse code, hoping someone picks it up on sonar and will home in on it. He doesn't realize the different thermal and salinity layers refract the sound waves and don't make it to the surface ships above. You have limited food and water. You have a head because of CO2 is building up. You have a head. I wonder if he meant headache. You have a head because CO2 is building up. The CO2 scrubbers aren't working as well as they should. It could be the humidity, the condensation that is cutting down the CO2 removal efficiency. The air reeks of body odor and other stuff. Some people have already become physically ill, and now the stink of vomit, pee, and shit is added to the air. You look at the viewing port in the bow and see water dripping down in streams. You have been told it's condensation, it's not seawater, so nothing to worry about. Now you're questioning the people in charge. You were told the submarine was safe, and if anything went wrong, all the pilot had to do was throw a couple of switches and the submarine would surface. Every eventuality in hand, but here you are in the dark on the bottom. Wow. Holy crap. That's pretty eerie, huh? I didn't think about the whole. I would totally. I mean, anybody would, but particularly if you're already claustrophobic. I'm not really a claustrophobic person, but in some instances, I would be definitely with this. Just the fact that you're in there, even if you have oxygen, but knowing that you're just trapped. I mean, the breathing probably has to get heavy. He even talks about the CO2 buildup, which is interesting. And yeah, we didn't even think about or really talk about the limited food. They weren't planning on being there that long. The space doesn't even allow for days of food. And yeah, you're probably getting in that the people that got on that shit, you're probably thinking, well, worst coming to worst, there's so many fail safes, will float to the surface. And maybe they've been reassured that everything's gonna be okay. The one guy said there's 7 ways to come up. Read that as a bedtime story. Shit. Wow. All right, let me get this other tweet. That was a really good read. So this same guy, let's take a look at some of his tweets because this guy's experienced. Before we get to the other tweet, he said here, I'm wondering when the last time that submarine's hull was inspected, thoroughly inspected. Hulls will and do develop cracks over the years. Every dive causes fatigue/hull stress. Also, cold water makes metal more brittle. That's interesting. That's what I was wondering too. We're kind of talking about that. It's like over time, do these things, you know, do they deteriorate? Do they have, I didn't know they do that. It makes sense. Develop cracks over the years. Every deep dive causes fatigue. I think the guy said that they have dived down there 25 times, I think, over a period of 3 years, I think they said, or 3 summers, he said, 3 summers. Military submarines have ways to combat flooding to either stop it or slow it down. I doubt something as small as this, as the Lost Taurus sub, has anything at all short of surfacing. From the sounds of things, its operations envelope wouldn't allow much room for failure. Even a leak on something that small could become a serious casualty real quick. Leaks are something you find. Flooding is something that finds you. That was the rule we used, but we would consider a leak would be flooding. Wait, but what we would consider a leak would be flooding on a small submersible. Because he's on submarines, so like, I wonder what they how when they're underwater in these submarines, the military, like, what do they do when they encounter a leak? Is there anything they can do? Or they have to surface up, but in the meantime, can they try to stop it? Is there anything they can do to stop it? Without regulations, a deep submersible could go long times without a proper hull inspection. So a small micro fracture could become a serious weak point and fail at shallower depth than it was designed to go. It could start as a leak or a major rupture. Airliners' hulls are also pressure vessels and are rated for so many pressurization and depressurization cycles. Hulls are expected to find microfractures. A submarine can develop microfractures which can fail at depth, even if it's less than collapse test or depth test. I love submarines and underwater exploration, but I would definitely think twice before going on a deep submersible submarine. The thing better have redundancy and a ballast system more than having people move to one side to jettison metal pipes. Ooh. One possible reason among a few that OceanGate submarine lost communications and hasn't been located is something that messes with how sound travels through water. Thermocyclins, they can act as blocks or conduits for sound caused by differences in water density. Damn. The same thing happens with radio signals in the atmosphere. This is why certain times of the day or during certain weather events, you can pick up radio stations far away. For underwater searches, this can make things a bit difficult, but not impossible. Wow. All right, let me get the other tweet. If I had to guess, man, I'm just my guess, non-expert, just watching and seeing everything everybody said. I mean, I hope they're just floating somewhere and haven't been seen yet. But I'm thinking some sort of implosion, maybe by a leak or something. All right, somebody sent me this. Let me see what they say. I've seen. Why should we care if a rich billionaire died? Takes. Exploration disasters hit everyone. Who is an explorer super hard? There was a crew on board. The paying guests were as well trained as scientists. We all take risk in our work. I'm praying for their safe return. I have nearly died in the field a few times. So have many of my colleagues. Some have lost their lives to exploration. People like Hamish are tremendous patrons for a lot of what governments will not fund, have cut funding for. No, I will not. Sorry. No, I'm not advocating for billionaires. Hamish is a highly regarded member of Explorers Club and has given a lot of money to good causes. I truly hope he and others are found quickly and are in good health. We can advocate for better taxation, paying workers without saying good riddance. I would look into this company a bit more to justify this take. I've seen documentary clips where the CEO makes fun of regulations and says engineering/science is not difficult or serious. Might not be the type of crew you think it is. The lack of empathy shocks me of the three members mentioned so far. One is the CEO and founder of the company and a nonprofit. The other is the most experienced submersible pilots. And the third is well-renowned Explorers Club and Guinness World Record holder. Okay. This was a really, really good read from this guy Charles to kind of put us into the mindset of what these people could be thinking or feeling underwater. It's really scary, man. It's creepy. Eerie. I just can't imagine being like, knowing like if they're somehow still underwater, you know, alive and stuck. I just can't imagine knowing that death is coming. I would still hold on to hope. I would try, but like, yeah, the longer and longer, the less, you know, the more, and they probably don't have lights. The lights are probably gone. It could be completely pitch black, cold, as he was saying. Yeah, it might be getting your throat checked out. I've been a little sick last couple days. Harnish Harding's family issued a statement. Not sure if you saw it. No. Let's see. Okay, I see it here. The family of Harnish Harding said that they are very grateful for the messages of support after the British billionaire was confirmed to be aboard the missing submersible. A statement released through Mr. Harding, Dubai-based company Action Aviation, said both Harding and the family and staff are thankful for the continued efforts of the authorities and companies that have stepped in to aid in the rescue efforts. We have put great faith and trust in their expertise. The team at Action Aviation are extremely proud of Hamish, and we look forward to welcoming him home. Okay. The one thing that makes it really kind of, I think the best scenario is that would be that they're alive and floating up top, so then they could just get to them and rescue them. The one thing that's kind of scary too is this guy said that if they're at the bottom of the ocean, how would they even reach down there? Like, there's not even many submarines in the world that could even reach that depth, and the time that it would take to get it there, you know. We anticipate there's somewhere between 70 to the full 96 hours at this point. He said on Monday. Damn. That's crazy, man. Enchivir, thank you so much for the 2-month membership. Thank you, Mel, Mods, chat, love y'all. Hockey Mom, thank you for the 2-month membership. Says Mel, did you see the new details of Harmony Montgomery? No, I haven't yet. I've got words. Thank you for the super chat. Says emailed you an article missing 8 hours before reported. Ooh. Let me check the email. Oh, they cut. What? When did this happen? Oh, they blocked the video in Russia? Okay. You cannot have your stream in Mother Russia. Okay. So let's check this out. Okay. Mystic Crypt says, even if they're floating on the surface somewhere, they're still on limited auction anyway until they get out. Yeah, I know. They would have to be found within time. Yeah, even if they're floating up, they could still pass away or be deceased. Missing Titanic sub live updates. OceanGate Expeditions waited 8 hours to report missing sub. Ooh. They waited 8 hours before reporting that the vessel had disappeared. The private company, which provides tours of the Titanic wreckage site for a stunning $250,000 per person, $250,000, did not report the Titan submersible was missing until 5:40 p.m. Sunday, the Daily Mail reported. Ooh. The Titan submerged at 8 a.m. Sunday morning, around 400 miles southeast of St. John's, Newfoundland, before losing contact with its mothership, the Polar Prince, an hour and 45 minutes later. Even though the submarine lost contact at 9:45 a.m., it wasn't reported missing to the U.S. Coast Guard until 5:40 p.m., 8 hours later. A submersible, unlike a submarine, doesn't have enough power to launch itself into the ocean and return on its own. The submersible relies on a support ship to launch it and recover it, which is a key reason why the vessel has been lost in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean ever since Sunday. Most people have been to outer space than as deep in the ocean as the Titanic's wreckage. Wow, diver says. More people have traveled to outer space than to the depth of the ocean where the missing Titanic tour submersible went, according to an experienced Titanic diver who cautioned there may be no way to save the lost vessel. During an appearance on Fox, Titanic expedition leader Michael Harris said he feared there was nothing the Navy could do to save the 5 passengers. That's what the one guy was saying. Like, if they're at the bottom of the ocean, to even get there.
One of them used to be one of my sub pilots, and it's just a sad day for our industry.
I'm so sorry to hear that. The oxygen situation, is there any way to remedy that?
No, we carry O2 bottles with us in the submersible, and you also have CO2 scrubbers. And, you know, the O2 will last longer than your CO2 scrubbers. And if those CO2 scrubbers go, and depending on what actually happened at depth, just not feeling good about it.
All right. What's this thing like to be inside of, and what exactly are you doing when you're going down to the Titanic wreck site?
Well, when we deploy, it's usually a 2.5 hour drop down to the wreck site itself. We go down 3,980 meters, and we spiral down a corkscrew action about 3 degrees per second to land right basically in front of the bow of Titanic. Once we get down there, then we begin our grid searches and our research on, you know, the decay and everything that's going on with Titanic.
What could possibly have happened?
Worst situation is, you know, something happened to the hull, and our fear is that, you know, it imploded at around 3,200 meters.
And is there anything that the U.S. Navy can do right now?
No. I mean, I don't see anything that can happen at this point. I mean, I'm trying to be, you know, somewhat cautious and, you know, don't want to basically be the naysayer of what's going on. But when you're talking 6,000 pounds per square inch, it is a dangerous environment. More people have been to outer space than to this depth of the ocean. Wow. And when you're diving in these situations, you have to cross your T's, dot your I's. You have to do everything absolutely perfect and by the book. And, you know, throwing a bunch of tourists in a new sub that, you know, was just created over the last several years, it's not looking good, Jesse.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us in this tender time, and we're going to be praying for everybody on that sub.
Yeah, Amy, I heard there's going to be a press conference, they say, at what? Like Coast Guard? Oh, man. Okay. It is true, Rachel. It's reality. I mean, I know people want to be hopeful and stuff, you know, and I know the families want to be hopeful, but yeah, clearly this doesn't look good at all. At all. And like I said, I wonder if the mothership is kind of withholding information, maybe. I'm not saying they are, but I'm just wondering, questioning if they are, you know. You know, and had they reported this sooner, could they have been a difference? Could these people have been found by now? 8 hours is a long time. Had they this reported, like they should have reported as soon as communication was lost. Or maybe they were just hoping that communication would come back. I mean, I don't understand. Maybe they waited an hour or something. 8 hours later, the end of the day, from 9:45 a.m. when they lost contact to 5:40 p.m., almost 6 p.m. The nighttime. Why? Why did they wait so long? Missing sub believed to be deeper than NATO rescue capability. The missing submersible is likely to be so deep underwater that it cannot be reached by the NATO submarine rescue system, according to the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense. As the host nation of NATO's multinational submarine rescue capability, we continue to monitor the incident in the North Atlantic and will guide and assist in any response activity as appropriate. The NSRS team can respond to troubled submarines and rescue in rescuable waters, safely operating 610 meters underwater. Meanwhile, a remotely operated NSRS vehicle can reach 1,000 meters, about 3,280 feet. So, like, this thing was really, really deep down. Still, NATO's rescue system falls about 10,000 feet short. 10,000 feet short. The tour submersible voyaged down some 13,000 feet on Sunday. Okay, just to give a little perspective, how far out of reach this thing was going. So the scary thing too is that they could be alive. I don't know I wonder if they would be able to make it to the bottom and just be there stuck at the bottom. They stopped looking when the sun started going down. Maybe they were looking for themselves. Yeah, they really should have called immediately. Miracles happen. Well, there was those kids in the Amazon that survived that plane crash for how many days? 30, 40 days? All right. So I think what we should do is, okay, let's see. Got a couple things going on. Let's see. Tag me. Okay. I think we should take a little break. They're gonna do a press conference supposedly at 1. So I think I should take a little break, and then at 1:30 is the trial return. So let's take a little break. Let me make a new stream so I can go use the restroom and like sit down for a little bit. Go live. It's gonna be a long day, I guess. Schedule stream. Day 5, part 2. Oh no. Hold on. I'm gonna reschedule. Shit. Let me use the thumbnail Mo gave me for now. Yeah, so I'll make a stream. That way we can kind of keep it a little bit clean. Schedule stream. So what we'll do is we'll do at 1 o'clock we'll come back. We'll do the press conference if it starts at that time. And then whenever that finishes, we'll just do the trial. I'm gonna take a little break, take some medicine. Okay. Let me add this thumbnail. Oh, you didn't the dimensions. That's okay. I'll fix that later. (1 p.m.) It's in 50 minutes, the press conference. They said they think it could start as early as 1, so I don't know if it's actually gonna be at 1 or is it gonna be later. So we'll just come at 1 and we'll hang out and we'll go over any other updates. Okay, I scheduled a stream. Redirect. Okay. All right, so I'll see you guys in a bit. I gotta take a little break. Thank you guys so much for like helping out, sending me links. Thank you for Moon that called in. I've got words. Thank you for the email. Lady Butterfly, thank you for the 13-month membership. Thank you for a great show. Hugs. Hockey Mama, thank you for that. And Shabir, I got you. Jenna Baldy, I got that. Candy Girl, thank you for the membership. Linda, thank you for sharing the stream and liking Facebook. Nessaby, thank you for the 15-month membership. Says he must have taken his son for Father's Day. Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that is sad. That's true. Diggs, thank you for the super chat. Says I sent you the link, bruh. All here love. Thank you for the super chat. What about sea monsters? No joke. I doubt it. And Bunny also said thank you for the 4-month membership. It says another big news story that's not being talked about much is Greece boat tragedy. Migrant shipwreck. 800 on board. 300 dead. I read and 10 traffickers arrested. I saw something like 74 people confirmed dead, but there's like hundreds missing that presumed dead probably too, I guess. And that's it. We're caught up. Yeah, so I'll be back in a little bit. See you guys in a bit, about 50 minutes. Gonna take a little break. All right. Love you guys. Bye. Boop, boop. Thank you so much.